in the discussions and her statement.
Okay, Bichachi, from a communications point of view, was that statement reckless? What would happen, let's say, if a Kenyan ambassador to the US would make such a statement about a thorny issue in the United States? Would there be a clapback? How would you equate it?
First, which Kenyan ambassador would dare? Let's compare apples with apples. The United States of America had an election 3 odd years ago. The former president, the Trump, decided that the elections were not free or unfair, and there was a January 6th mandamano. There was an insurrection, and they did much worse than Kenyans did, because they stormed Congress and basically made a mess of it all, and we've seen the many arrests. Beyond that point, there's also been many demonstrations by Trump supporters against the Biden administration. Would a Kenyan ambassador dare talk about that? No, that's the truth. If the shoe was on the other foot, they wouldn't. Now, I am not saying that Meg Whitman is wrong or right in terms of the substance of what she said, right? Because the Supreme Court of Kenya agrees with her, meaning that the laws of this country agree with the statement she made.
Yes.
Now, in terms of communication and the political relevance of what she said, she was obviously stirring a pot. Okay? I do not think that was a diplomatic statement. I think it was a political one. And it was a political one because there has been a significant shift in our foreign policy and also our fiscal policy to look more towards the West as opposed to when we're looking more towards the East. So there is definitely a growing relationship between our institutions, our presidency, and the United States. That goes without saying. Right. However, in as much as there was no factual impact in terms of changing the reality of how an Azimio person thinks about the election and how a Kenya Kwanza person thinks about the election, politically it set up a stage where Raila Odinga then had to hit back, right? Looking like the underdog. Now, you see, it becomes dicey because Kenyans love an underdog. Kenyans loved the underdog in William Ruto when he was deputy president. So when it seems like you have convinced the powers that be to align with you to fight your political enemies, then the message could shift on you. But in terms of actual political mileage for any of them, there's nothing. Because Kenyans, the ones in Azimio, are convinced the election was stolen. The ones in Kenya Kwanza are still praying in tongues and thanking God for their win. So there's nothing really that changed. But the political choir, it's definitely going to keep playing. But to answer your question, would a Kenyan ambassador dare? No. Okay. Unless there's a cold night in hell.
Well, unless I don't find your mambo, you know. Anyway, Kinuthia, so, and I mean, let's combine what we saw from